The popular narrative insists Red Bull is merely in a temporary slump. Everyone assumes Max Verstappen's sheer talent will eventually overcome the deficit. But the reality contradicts this comfortable assumption entirely. Red Bull has not won a single race through the first 11 Grands Prix of 2026. This marks their first winless half-season since 2015. Verstappen currently sits roughly 110 points behind championship leader Kimi Antonelli. He is reportedly around 6th in the Drivers' Championship standings at the summer break. This is not a momentary dip for a team that dominated from 2021 through 2025. It is a systemic collapse triggering contractual mechanisms nobody expected to activate. The deeper question looming over the paddock is not just about engineering fixes. We must ask whether the driver most responsible for past glory is already planning his exit. That tension hangs heavy because off-track consequences suggest something far more permanent. His current championship position triggered a performance-linked exit clause in his contract. This specific window runs through October 2026, according to multiple reports. His camp requested this clause due to long-standing apprehension about the 2026 rules overhaul. Now that the condition has been met, the door is officially open. Why does this matter when there are still races left to run? Uncertainty surrounding his future creates a destructive feedback loop within the garage. Every missed victory compounds the pressure on both driver and team. You cannot separate the mechanical struggles from the contractual reality anymore. So what exactly is broken on the track right now? Verstappen has repeatedly called the RB22 undriveable across multiple race weekends. He told engineers over team radio that they never had anything this bad. He explicitly stated they do not have tire degradation issues. Instead, they have car degradation that changes from lap to lap. Every lap is honestly survival for him, according to his own words. He cannot push at all because the car simply does not let him. From lap 1 of this new regulation, he has not enjoyed this car. Rear wing issues during Hungary qualifying were becoming dangerous for himself. These are raw admissions that the fundamental package is failing. Car fails. Driver suffers. No wins come. Verstappen recovered from 6th to finish 2nd at the Hungarian Grand Prix. That result demonstrated strong racecraft compensating for a deeply flawed package. Yet former Ferrari engineer Rob Smedley rated Red Bull only 5 out of 10. He noted during a mid-season television assessment that problems change constantly. Smedley stated plainly that Red Bull should be doing so much better. Inconsistent balance and an underperforming Ford power unit plagued the team. The transition to Red Bull powertrains was supposed to secure their independence. Instead, it has become a repeated liability throughout the 2026 season. Technical director Pierre Waquet maintains a target of winning before year's end. But the gap between ambition and current reality remains vast. That 11-race drought represents more than just bad luck or a development curve. It signifies a complete inversion of the competitive hierarchy that defined the previous half-decade. Consider the sheer magnitude of 110 points separating first place from Red Bull's lead driver. In modern Formula One scoring systems, that deficit equals roughly 4 maximum point victories plus additional podiums. Kimi Antonelli has built this cushion not through occasional brilliance, but through consistent Mercedes superiority across diverse circuit types. Verstappen's 4 podiums through 11 rounds show he can still extract results. Yet those 2nd and 3rd place finishes highlight the ceiling rather than the floor. The team cannot convert raw pace into race-winning strategy when the fundamental package lacks peak performance. This statistical chasm forces us to examine what happens when dominance evaporates overnight. History provides no comfort here. The last time Red Bull endured such a barren stretch was 2015. Back then, Verstappen was still proving himself at Toro Rosso. Daniel Ricciardo carried the senior team through a difficult transition period after regulation changes. That era involved adapting to Renault power unit limitations and aerodynamic concept shifts. Today's situation differs fundamentally because it involves their own in-house powertrain operation partnered with Ford. They are no longer waiting for a supplier to fix problems. They own every failure directly. Responsibility cannot be outsourced anymore. Accountability is absolute. This structural shift makes recovery harder, not easier. The organization must solve engineering puzzles internally while competing against manufacturers with decades of hybrid experience. So where does that leave us right now? We have established the scale of on-track failure and its historical context. But numbers alone do not explain why contractual alarms are ringing so loudly. The championship position is merely the trigger mechanism. What matters more is how both sides interpret this prolonged winless streak within the framework of existing agreements. Verstappen's camp did not negotiate this exit clause as a formality. They inserted it specifically because they feared exactly this scenario following the 2026 technical reset. Their apprehension about new regulations proved entirely justified by subsequent events. The car's behavior validated every preseason concern about drivability and balance. Now the theoretical escape hatch has become a practical negotiation lever. Team struggles. Points vanish. Pressure mounts. Mercedes capitalized on Red Bull's vulnerability with ruthless efficiency throughout the opening months. Antonelli's championship lead reflects organizational stability that Milton Keynes currently cannot match. When your primary rival operates without major reliability concerns or balance inconsistencies, catching up requires perfection. Red Bull has delivered anything but perfection during this critical window, qualifying deficits compound into strategic compromises on Sundays. Tire management becomes reactive rather than proactive when the chassis fights the driver. Verstappen's radio messages about survival driving illustrate this daily reality. He cannot manage races optimally when basic car behavior consumes all available mental bandwidth. This operational burden explains why even talented drivers struggle to close gaps that look manageable on paper. The psychological toll of sustained underperformance deserves equal attention alongside technical analysis. Drivers accustomed to fighting for titles process defeat differently than those expecting midfield battles. Every weekend without victory reinforces doubts about the project's viability. Confidence erodes incrementally through qualifying sessions and race stints where nothing works as intended. This cumulative frustration feeds directly into contract discussions happening behind closed doors. Performance clauses exist precisely because trust between driver and team has limits. Those limits have now been tested beyond original parameters. Whether Red Bull can rebuild that trust before October arrives remains the defining question of this crisis. Picture this for a second. You are strapped into a machine generating 5 Gs through high-speed corners, yet your primary focus is not finding grip or managing tires. Instead, you are fighting the steering wheel itself just to keep the car pointing in the right direction. Every input produces an unpredictable response that forces constant micro-corrections. Your brain processes danger signals faster than conscious thought allows. This is not racing at the limit. This is managing controlled chaos while competitors drive with predictable precision. That mental exhaustion accumulates lap after lap until even simple tasks require monumental effort. Verstappen has articulated this exact experience repeatedly throughout 2026. His team radio transmissions reveal a driver operating beyond normal frustration thresholds. He told engineers explicitly that the car is undriveable during multiple race weekends. Those words carry weight coming from someone who rarely complains without cause. More damning still was his clarification about degradation patterns. He stated they do not have tire degradation but car degradation instead. Balance problems changing from lap to lap make setup optimization nearly impossible. Traditional engineering solutions fail when the fundamental platform behaves inconsistently. You cannot tune around chaos. Data becomes noise. Feedback loops break down completely. Grip shifts, balance breaks, trust disappears. His description of every lap as survival driving strips away any romantic notions about talent overcoming machinery. Survival implies avoiding catastrophe rather than pursuing performance. When a world champion uses that terminology, it signals systemic failure beyond typical development struggles. The rear-wing safety issues during Hungary qualifying exemplify this dangerous instability. Components failing under load create genuine physical risk. Verstappen noted these problems were becoming dangerous for himself. Safety concerns transform competitive disadvantages into ethical dilemmas for teams. No championship position justifies exposing drivers to unacceptable mechanical hazards. Yet, the RB22 continues exhibiting behaviors that compromise both speed and security simultaneously. From lap 1 of the new regulation era, he has not enjoyed this car. That admission matters because enjoyment correlates strongly with sustained elite performance. Drivers extract maximum potential when they trust their equipment implicitly. Remove that trust and even reflexive skills degrade under pressure. Verstappen's recovery drive to second place in Hungary demonstrated residual racecraft, but heroic individual efforts mask underlying organizational dysfunction. One podium does not validate a flawed concept. It merely postpones inevitable reckoning with deeper structural problems. The Ford Power Unit partnership was supposed to provide competitive advantage through vertical integration. Instead, it has introduced new variables that compound existing chassis deficiencies. Power delivery characteristics interact poorly with aerodynamic sensitivity. Engineers face compounding challenges rather than isolated fixes. This technical reality explains why contractual discussions have accelerated beyond normal timelines. Performance clauses activate based on measurable outcomes like championship position. But the qualitative experience of driving an undriveable car informs long-term decisions equally. Would you commit your prime years to a project that demands survival rather than excellence? That calculation happens privately but influences public negotiations profoundly. Red Bull reportedly cut back Verstappen's media access after his sharpest post-Hungary criticism. Managing internal frustration while maintaining external composure requires delicate balance. Silence does not indicate resolution, it often precedes major strategic shifts. Remember how this all started, with the stark fact that Red Bull has not won a single race through the first 11 Grands Prix of 2026. That specific winless statistic is no longer just a historical footnote or a measure of competitive decline. It is now the legal key unlocking a contractual escape route. Verstappen's reported 6th place standing at the summer break satisfied the exact condition triggering his performance, linked exit clause. The window for potential departure is officially open and run through October 2026, according to multiple reports citing sources familiar with the agreement. This mechanism was never intended as routine boilerplate language buried in fine print. His camp insisted upon it due to long-standing apprehension about how the new regulations would reshape competitive balance. Those preseason fears have materialized into concrete championship deficits that activate binding contractual terms. Clause triggered. Window opens. Options expand. The precision of this trigger matters enormously for understanding current paddock dynamics. Finishing outside the top two at the midpoint checkpoint created an automatic right rather than a negotiable privilege. Red Bull cannot simply refuse to honor terms they previously accepted. German outlet Bild reported the team offered a one-year extension to 2029 with higher salary and removed exit clauses. But Jos Verstappen dismissed such reports on X by stating followers know absolutely nothing. That public contradiction transforms speculation into genuine uncertainty. We cannot confirm whether any formal offer exists or what its actual terms contain. What we can verify is that the original performance condition has been met definitively. Championship position serves as objective evidence satisfying contractual requirements regardless of external narratives about loyalty or future plans. So where does that leave us regarding timeline pressure? October creates a hard deadline forcing decisions from all parties involved. Verlaine stated his client wants to finish his time with Red Bull and fulfill the existing 2028 contract. Yet wanting something and being legally bound to pursue it are fundamentally different propositions when exit mechanisms activate. Sky Sports News reported Verstappen's camp initiated contact with McLaren regarding potential 2027 opportunities. No team has confirmed any deal publicly, but initiation itself signals active exploration rather than passive waiting. The combination of verified clause activation plus reported external contacts suggests movement happening beneath official silence. Whether that movement leads to departure or renegotiation remains unresolved.